Hey, welcome back to Daily Hope. We are in this special study about the broken down things in our lives. How do we see God rebuild them? How can you see God do a miracle in a situation in your life that seems totally hopeless? And can I just encourage you again, for Nehemiah, this situation seemed totally hopeless. It looked impossible that the king would give him permission to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild. And then secondly, even if the king does give him permission, no one in Jerusalem knows who he is. How's he going to rally all these strangers to rebuild a wall? I mean, it just looks so daunting. And if what you're praying about still seems daunting, God brought me into your life today to encourage you. Keep praying persistently. Keep praying specifically. Keep doing all that you can to prepare to do your part. And I want to give you another tool today. The tool today is to claim God's promises about your situation. We see Nehemiah do this back in chapter 1, verse 8. When Nehemiah is asking for God to rebuild Jerusalem, he quotes scripture. He essentially says, "Dad, you promised." And what Nehemiah is going to do is quote from a book of the Bible that Moses wrote. And it's a time when God said, if my people dishonor me long enough, I will scatter them among the nations. But if they return to me, I will bring them back and rebuild Jerusalem. And so Nehemiah knows that promise of God, and he claims that promise of God. And he essentially says, God, you promised. Let's look at Nehemiah's promise that he claims, and then we'll talk about your situation. Please remember what you told your servant Moses. If you return to me and obey my commands, then I will bring you back to the place I have chosen for my name to be honored, that is, Jerusalem. So Nehemiah takes his broken situation, he searches the scriptures that he had, and he said, here's a promise of God for my situation. You, believer, can do the exact same thing. Did you know that in God's love letter to you, the Bible, there are thousands of promises? There's a promise for every day of your life, every situation of your life that you'll ever find yourself in. When you feel like, I'm just too far gone, you claim the promise of Philippians 1, that he who began a good work in you, he'll be faithful to complete it. And you say, God, I feel hopeless. I feel pointless, but you promised, you who began a good work in me, you'll be faithful to complete it. So God, today, I can't stand in my own strength, but I'm claiming your promise. Or you claim the promise of Romans 8, verse 28, where God promises that he will work all things together for your good as someone who loves him and is called according to his purposes. It's not a promise that everything in your life will be good, but he can turn the evil for good. Now, those are two broad promises that apply to all Christians, but there are hundreds, thousands of other specific promises for parents, for people fighting addiction, for relationships, for marriages, for finances, for careers. God has promises in his word, but here's the thing, you've got to find those promises, and then as you're praying persistently and specifically, you're claiming the promises of God for your situation. Here's the thing, sometimes my kids come to me and they'll say, hey, Dad, you promised. And I'll think back and I'll be like, oh yeah, I did. Then I have to do it. If I do that for my kids, how much more will your perfect Father in heaven, when you say, God the Father, you promised you'll do this in my life, he'll do the same for you, just as he did for Nehemiah. See you tomorrow.